Hey guys, this is Right Flamingo and welcome to my Guild Wars 2 class guide for the Holosmith. So in this video I'm going to be looking at the Holosmith's unique weapon as well as each individual weapon skill that gives you. I'll then be looking at the healing, utility and elite skills that the Holosmith has at his disposal, as well as looking at the new profession mechanics for the Holosmith and looking at the individual traits within the specialization to see how you can make yourself even more powerful. So if you're interested in playing as a Holosmith, or if you already are and you want to know more, strap in and we'll get started right now. Okay, so before we go into the detail, I just want to give you a quick profession overview for the Holosmith. So the Holosmith is the second elite specialization for the engineer and is unlocked in the Path of Fire expansion. By harnessing the power of the sun, Holosmiths can create semi-solid constructs of light. They wield swords in battle and gain access to powerful light weapons in their volatile photon forge mode. Okay, so yeah, you get a new weapon, you get to be able to use the sword, so it's another melee weapon for the engineer, so that's pretty cool. You get access to the Photon Forge, which replaces your F5 ability on your toolkit, and we'll be having a look at that later on. That gives you a whole new set of skills to play with there. And then also there's a new type of utility skills and healing skills to look at as well, so we'll get into that. So the first thing we want to look at is the weapon skills. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the new and exclusive weapon for the Holosmith. So this is the one-handed sword. So let me equip this now. So this is in the main hand, so it'll be your first free weapon skills. We're going to have a look at these weapon skills one by one, see what they do, and then demonstrate them. Alright, so your number one ability is a chain ability. It's range 130, so you do have to do it from melee range, so bear that in mind. So with a chain ability, you need to do these, it will automatically do the chain one by one, but try not to interrupt it part way through because a lot of the damage is often weighted towards the final hit, so you won't be able to get that. You'll have to start the chain over again. So, you've got Sun Edge, Sun Ripper, and Gleam Saber. So, strike your foe and inflict vulnerability. This attack deals more damage based on your heat level. Strike your foe again and inflict vulnerability. This attack deals more damage based on your heat level, so basically the same again. And unleash a burst of stored energy with your sword and recharge your other sword skills. This attack deals more damage based on your heat level. Alright, so your heat level's here, and we'll go into that in more detail a bit later on when we talk about the profession mechanics, but basically you build it up, you know, using your photon forge. So do bear in mind that this will do more damage. So damage increase of, I mean, it's quite modest to be fair, so damage increase of 10% when above 50% heat, so it's you know, it's not a must to use this ability, so that's absolutely fine. So you're going to strike them and inflict vulnerability, and then you can do that again, and then your third hit you're going to recharge your other sword skills, so recharge time reduction of 3 seconds on your other sword skills, which is cool. As well as obviously you're going to be doing more damage because you've put stacks of vulnerability on them in the first couple of hits, so that's cool. So let's demonstrate this out now. Bam. You can see we're stacking up the vulnerability. Cool little animation there on hitting with the sword as well. But that's cool, and that's also going to, like I said, reduce the recharge on my other sword skills, so these skills as well, so that's really cool. So our second weapon skill for the sword is Refraction Cutter. So this has a 9-second cooldown. This is strike at foes in front of you and launch a blade of light at your target. Launch extra blades based on your heat level. Each blade inflicts conditions. Okay, so the projectile range is mid-range, but the actual initial hit part of it is actually range 130, so you want to be doing it from close range. So you're going to strike at all the foes in front of you, hitting up to 3 enemies, bleeding the enemies, and you're going to launch some extra blades as well, and then the blades will inflict conditions. So additional 2 blades if you're over 50% heat on your Photon Forge, so bear that in mind. But let's give this a go now. There you go, so the big hit there, bleeding on fire. I just want to see if I can get it to shoot the projectile at this guy. Let's have a little look. Boom. No, I'm not really sure exactly how that works, but obviously if they're a bit more bunched together, it's going to go and hit him. But that skill will hit up to 3 enemies as well, so do bear that in mind. So that will make it even more powerful there. And your third and final weapon skill on the sword is Radiant Arc. So leap to your target and create an arc of light that strikes nearby foes. Gain quickness based on your heat level. It's got a 14-second cooldown. It's got a range of 450, so it's not too far away, sort of low to mid range there, so don't do it from too far away. So you're going to leap at your enemy, you're going to create an arc of light, and you're going to strike up to 5 enemies. You're going to put cripple on the enemies, and you're going to gain quickness based on your heat level. So if you're over 50% heat, as you can see, you're going to get more seconds of quickness, as you can see there. So let's demonstrate it from sort of this far away on this guy. Bam. Alright. Alright, nice a few skills there. So as you can see, it's going to jump into battle, so you could use it to start off your fight, and then you could maybe use your number 1 to put a few stacks of vulnerability on, then hit with your number 2. But obviously it's just something you can incorporate into your build. So I think it's a pretty cool weapon, because the base engineer doesn't actually have any melee weapons, so it is quite unique in that perspective, so that's really cool. So that's the weapon skills. So the next thing I want to have a look at is the new and exclusive healing skill. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the new healing skill for the Holosmith. So this is our first look at one of the new Exceed abilities, which is a brand new skill type for the Holosmith. I'll also be looking at the tool belt skills, because obviously your 6, 7, 8 and 9 will give you a tool belt skill, so I'll be showing you those new skills as well. So first up, Coolant Blast. So this has a 25-second cooldown, and it's heal yourself and chill nearby foes. If you are above the heat threshold when this skill is activated, gain Frost Aura and continue healing for a duration. Okay, so you're going to get a decent initial heal on yourself there. If your heat threshold, so if your heat's over 50, then you're going to get Frost Aura, which it says minuses incoming damage for 4 seconds, which is cool. And you're going to chill nearby enemies as well, so you can put chill on enemies around you on a radius of 240 around you, and hits up to 5 targets. So let's demonstrate that. Obviously I'll do it near an enemy because it will put shield on them, but obviously it's the heal. Let's have a look, see if we get a cool animation as well. Alright, nice. Okay, as you can see, we chilled the enemy there, so it does have an effect on them as well as giving us a decent heal and a nice little animation there to go with it. And like I said, if your heat is above there, so if you're building up heat in your Photon Forge a lot, then that is going to benefit you as well. So let's have a quick look at our toolkit ability for this. So you get Cauterize, so this is a 30-second cooldown. Use a laser to burn off conditions and set yourself on fire for each condition removed. Removes additional conditions if above the heat threshold. So self-burning, so you're going to remove conditions but put burning on yourself, so you're removing conditions but also putting conditions on yourself, but you are going to be able to remove additional conditions if you're above 50% heat. So I mean, that's pretty cool. Obviously do bear in mind you can set yourself on fire, so boom, remove conditions, cool animation there, but obviously as I don't have any conditions on me, that's not going to convert them into a bit of self-burning there. So there is a bit of a negative to that one as well, so do bear that in mind, but all in all, a pretty cool healing skill there to add to your arsenal. So the next thing I'm going to do is have a look at the Holosmith's utility skills. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the Holosmith's utility skills. So as usual, we've got 4 new utility skills as part of this elite spec, and these are all Exceed abilities, which is a new type of ability. So let's stick the 3 of them on now. First 3 there, and then we'll look at the 4th one in a second as well. So I will show you each of their ability, we'll have a look at them, and then I'll show you the toolkit ability that goes with it as well. So our first one here is Photon Wall. This is a 45-second cooldown. So a defensive barrier appears in front of you that blocks you and your allies from incoming attacks. Reactive Exceed to fire the barrier. Reactivate Exceed to fire the barrier at foes as an attack banner. This skill grants projectile reflection if you're above the heat threshold. So you can see you've got the secondary ability below it there, Launch Wall. So let's just have a quick look. So we're going to put a barrier in front of us that protects us and allies from attacks. And we're going to get projectile reflection if we're above 50% heat threshold, so bear that in mind. And then we can, at any point during the ability, it lasts for 3 seconds, so at any point during it we can press that button again and use Launch Wall, which launch your Photon Wall forward, causing the wall to explode when it strikes a foe, inflicting conditions on nearby enemies. When fired above the heat threshold, launch additional walls. Alright, so let's give this a go then. So let's go up to this guy. So first we want to block the projectiles, and then bam, we'll use that and it shoots the wall at them to do the extra effect there. As you can see, the wall does come a little bit in front of you there, so if you you probably want to be standing back using a ranged weapon to take full advantage of that wall. But it also blocks attacks from for your allies as well, so it doesn't just protect you, it protects your allies as well, so that's pretty cool there. Nice defensive ability. So our next utility skill is Laser Disc. This has a 30-second cooldown. Create rotating laser blades to damage nearby foes. This skill has increased duration when activated while above the heat threshold. So the heat threshold is 50% like the other ones, and that duration increase would be 50%. So let's have to go with this. So we're going to lay it down on a radius of 180 around us, so it's got to be done from close range, and it can hit up to 5 enemies and it pulses 12 times. So let's give this a quick go now. Oh, okay, so you can move with it, bear in mind. So you move with it, and as you can see, inflicts a nice amount of bleeding on all the enemies as well. So you can do that as you're going into battle, and anyone who comes anywhere near you is going to have that ability on you. And it's got really cool animation as well, so that's a plus. Just to quickly show you, as I've been showing as you're going along, with Photon Wall you get a particle accelerator here on your toolkit, which has a 10-second cooldown, and it's fire a crippling bolt of light at your target. Allies the bolt passes through are granted swiftness. Projectile velocity increased while above the heat threshold. So, okay, we're going to be crippling enemies and granting swiftness to allies that it passes through. So the range on that is 1,000, so it's pretty long range. So if I do this here, there you go, that passes through both of them there, crippling them both, and obviously any allies in the area as well, it's going to give them swiftness as well, so it's going to help buff them. And then just as part of that laser disc ability we just looked at, you get Blade Burst on your toolkit there, which is a 30-second cooldown, and it's fire holographic blades at foes within range. Damage increased while over the heat threshold. So 25% damage increase when you're over 50% heat. You put bleeding on the enemy, and it can hit up to 5 enemies from mid-range. So let's just try this out. There you go, that's shot out in all directions to anyone within that range. You can see all of these guys are bleeding, so it hit all of them. So that's a pretty cool ability there for your toolkit. So your third utility skill for the Holosmith is Hard Light Arena. So this is a 50-second cooldown, so bear in mind because that's quite a long time. Create a holographic arena that grants you boons while inside of it. When activated above the heat threshold, the radius and duration are increased. Allies gain boons at reduced duration. As you can see, we're putting boons on all of our allies while they're inside it. Fury, protection, regen. So that happens every 1 second. Hit up to 5 allied targets, but you get duration increase on the boons by 2 seconds if you have above 50% heat threshold, as well as an increased radius there. Whereas the normal radius is only 240. So let's give that a go now. So let's put that down, Hard Light Arena. So that doesn't move with you, so that stays there. So you want to place that down on top of the fight, and it's going to buff all of your allies in the area. As you can see, all these buffs I've got myself, all of our allies are going to have that as well. So it's going to make them and us more powerful. So that's definitely one that you want to do in a support role as part of a group. And your toolkit ability to go with that is Prismatic Singularity. So this is a 35-second cooldown. This is collapse a ring of holograms to pull foes into a single point. The ring explodes when it fully collapses. Radius and pull distance increase well above the heat threshold. Okay, so normal radius of 240 around you, hits up to 5 enemies and pulls them in while doing some explosion damage. So let's try this out now. Boom. Pulls them in and explodes. Obviously, target columns go back to their normal place. But pretty cool there if you want to pull the enemies around you close so that you and your allies can use, you know, AoE effects that have a small target area that you can use on them all at the same time. So that'd be cool. Alright, so now I'll swap to my fourth and final new utility skill. So this is Spectrum Shield and has a 40-second cooldown. So break stun effects and create a holographic shell that reduce incoming damage. This skill recharges faster while above the heat threshold. So minus 50% incoming damage, minus 50% incoming condition damage for 4 seconds there. And obviously an increased recharge of 25% if you're over 50% health. Also breaks stun as well, which is cool, so you can use this as a stun breaker. Okay, so if I try that out, boom, really cool, turns you into like a really awesome looking football there. And there you go. And during that time, as we said, you're going to create a holographic shell that reduces incoming damage. So it's a good defensive ability there, and also breaks stun, so you can use that to, if you've been stunned, use that break stun, and then you can use it to get out of combat a little bit, and maybe use a healing skill while you're protected from incoming damage. That's a cool ability there, and just to show you the toolkit ability that comes with that as well, it's called Flash Spark, and there's a 40-second cooldown. So release a blinding burst of light from your holographic emitter. While above the heat threshold, gain light aura. So we're going to blind enemies with this, up to 5 enemies within a radius of 240 around us, and we'll also get light aura if we're above 50% heat, and that gives us minus 10% incoming condition damage. So let's try this out on these guys here. Boom, explodes, blindness on all of them, which means that any enemies around you, they're going to miss their next attack, so that's pretty cool there. Okay, so that is all of the utility skills. So the next thing I want to have a look at is the brand new elite skill. Alright, so now I want to have a look at the Holosmith's elite skill. So this is an elite exceed ability, as you can imagine, and there is no toolkit ability to go with it because F5 is your photon forge, so we'll be going through that with the professional mechanics, but just so you know, so it's just this ability. But to be fair, it's only got a 40-second cooldown, so that's pretty good. This is called Prime Light Beam. So this is charge up and fire an explosive beam of light in front of you. When activated above the heat threshold, this attack leaves behind a burning holographic field. Alright, so you're going to charge a explosive beam and fire it in front of you, which is great. Hitting up to 5 enemies. You can do it from a range of 1200, so you can do it from really far away, which is cool. And it's going to do a decent amount of damage, but to be fair, you kind of want to do this when you're above the 50% heat threshold, because you're going to be doing an extra bit of damage, and you can be laying down like a line of burning to set enemies on fire, and that's going to last for 10 seconds as well. So quite a big part of this ability is based on the heat threshold thing. So obviously, like, the ability's going to be decent, but it's only going to be half of what it should be if you're not actually above the heat threshold. So let's just try it out though, as normal here. This guy will get out of my way. Alright, so if I use this now, boom, as you can see, it knocks them down as well, so it will knock down all enemies, up to 5 enemies in your path there. Cool beam animation as you literally pull out some laser beam and just shoot it at them, which is really awesome. Like I said, above the heat threshold it's going to be even better, because along where you shoot it's going to leave behind a, what do they call it, a holographic field, so a burning holographic field, which is going to pulse for 10 seconds, and it's going to do damage and set people alight in there as well. So that's pretty cool. So you're probably going to want to utilise that part of the utility skill as well. So that's the new utility skill. So the next thing I want to have a look at is the profession mechanics for the Holosmith. Okay, so now I want to have a look at the unique profession mechanics for the Holosmith. So we've already looked at the fact that it can now wield a sword, which is pretty significant because the base engineer doesn't have any melee weapons. So it's a cool melee weapon there, and we've been through all of those skills. Then also you've got the new exceed abilities, which we can see all of these here. And they're really cool, good support abilities, which will be good in group situations. And then obviously it adds some extra toolkit abilities, so we've been through all of those as well, and that's really cool. So the main thing, so the main event on the Holosmith basically, is the fact that the F5 ability, which on a base engineer would be the toolkit ability for your elite skill, is now the Photon Forge. And this works in a similar way to engineering kits you have on the base engineer, like the flamethrower and bomb kit and stuff like that, which you would activate it, and it would replace your first 5 weapon skills with a whole new set of skills specific to the Photon Forge. So the thing that separates it from these engineering kits though is that you have this heat bar here, and obviously you've heard a little bit about that already, where we said about certain skills. So it's got this 50% marker there. Reason being is that, as we saw with a lot of these exceed skills, there is an increased effect or even added effects when your heat level is above 50. So whenever you use these skills, they're going to be more effective if your heat level is above 50. So you kind of want to keep that there. So we'll look at how that works. So when you activate the Photon Forge, it's going to start, the heat level is going to start going up. And if you do hit the top heat level, you're going to take some damage as well, so you want to avoid that. So it's sort of a balancing act where you've got to maintain it. So you've got engage photon forge. So activate your photon forge, gaining access to new skills. Generate heat while photon forge is active. Take damage if you overheat. And disables the use of kits for a short duration, so you won't be able to use other kits for 6 seconds after using it, but that's not too much of a problem. And then if you press it again, you can see you've got deactivate photon forge, so cancel photon forge and begin cooling after a delay. Cooling effectiveness increases over time. Alright, so you can see you're going to be getting 2% heat per second, maximum heat of 100. You reach 100, you're going to overheat and you're going to take damage, so do try and avoid that. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate it now. I'll stick on the photon forge. I might have to do it a couple of times to be able to get a good look at all of the new weapons, because obviously it does fill up over time, so we'll have to bear that in mind. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick it on and we're going to have a look at how it works. So if I press my F5, boom, there you go, I've gone hologram and I've got my photon forge out. So your first ability here is a chain ability, but obviously you can't actually see it because this puts you in combat. But your first one is light strike, and then you've got bright strike and flash cutter. So light strike, swing a holographic blade. The next one, slash with a blade of light energy, and the third one, cleave through all foes in front of you twice. So let's quickly try this out. So this is target up to 5 enemies, range 240, so it's got to be relatively close. And obviously it's got 2% heat gain as well. So bam, 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 bam. There you go. So as you can see, it increased, not only does your heat go 2% a second up, your skills in the photon forge have a heat gain on them. So that every time I was hitting with that, it was adding another 2%. So obviously as you use your skills, it does it even quicker. And you probably noticed as well, you start off as like a blue hologram there, and then when you get past the 50%, you become like an orange hologram. It's probably to indicate, one, that you've reached that threshold so you can use those skills and have more effect, and also because you, I suppose it's more effective, and just warning you that you're going to be overheating soon. Right, so you can see the heat went down quite quickly, so we're able to use it again. I mean, even if the heat's 25% or whatever, you can go back into it again, but obviously you're going to start putting it up again. So let's give this a go and look at your next abilities then. So activate that, and your number 2 ability is Holo Leap. So create a holographic launch pad and leap to your foe. The pad remains behind for a short duration, granting increased movement speed to allies who touch it. So let's try this out on this guy. So boom, bang. So leap, do a nice bit of damage there, and obviously leave that pad behind as well, which is cool. So that was a nice ability there, and had a little buff for allies when it's left behind. So that's another one to look. If you look, you probably notice as well, most of these are sort of melee abilities as well, which are pretty cool. So it's quite different to the the base engineer. This is a significant change. So let's have a look at our number 3 ability now. So back in the photon forge, Corona Burst. That's fitting. Strike nearby foes and begin to store up energy, gaining boons and heat each pulse. After charging, the energy explodes, inflicting conditions on nearby foes. So this uses 2% heat gain. So let's have a little look. So boom, there you go. Nice, nice. So that's really cool. As you saw, it span around there, doing damage to enemies, and then sucked in all that energy, and then exploded outwards, doing more damage as well, and didn't have too much of a extra heat gain there, probably because it takes a little while to do, so your heat's going to be going up continuously while you're doing it as well. So let's have a look at your number 4 ability. So this is Photon Blitz. So fire multiple piercing blasts at your target. It's got a 10-second cooldown. If it inflicts burning on the enemy, hits up to 5 enemies, and it's only got 2% heat gain. I'm not sure if that's per strike. It does say just 2%, so let's have a little look. Let's try this out. This one's a range 600, so this one is sort of like a pistol ability almost. Let's try this out. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. I think, to be fair, it did look like it did an extra 2% per hit. So, no, that's not what I wanted. So, yeah, that one does use a bit of it as well, so you do bear that in mind. I think you're going to obviously have to learn these abilities quite well, and what situations you want to use them in, because you don't really have too much time to think. While you're in a photon forge, you need to use it, manage it, don't overheat, and then come out of it as quickly as you can. Alright, so let's have a look at your 5th and final photon forge ability here. This is Holographic Shockwave. So create a deadly holographic shockwave that launches foes upwards. This attack always deals a critical hit. So it's got a 15-second cooldown, but bear in mind it's got 25% heat gain, but a critical hit chance of 100%, so that's cool. And obviously you can launch enemies. It's got a radius of 300 and it can hit up to 5 enemies. So let's try this out now. Bam! So that's like a hammer ability, jump, hit, and it knocks all the foes down in the area, does a decent amount of damage, and it's just a really cool looking ability as well. I mean, the Photon Forge is awesome just because it looks so cool. So that's something to consider. And also just another little thing, obviously a lot of your abilities here, you've got that they're more powerful over 50% heat threshold, and I believe these can be used while you're in the Photon Forge as well. It doesn't restrict you like some things can, so you can only use those 5. So you've got these here, so if I wanted to use this and bump up my energy usage there, I can then use these while I'm above 50% heat, and they're going to have their increased effects, as you can see, and they're really awesome animations. So you can whack those out while you've got the Photon Forge active, so you can manage it and then you can come out of it. But I think as long as you're above 50 when you use it, you're going to have those extra effects, which on some of them do have a really massive impact as well, so that's really cool. So that's all of the unique basic profession mechanics for the Holosmith, which I think is a really cool take on the engineer, and does change it a lot, to be fair. So I definitely would recommend you give this one a go. And the next thing I'm going to have a look at is the Elite Specialization and the individual traits to see how you can make yourself more powerful. Okay, so now I want to have a look at the Elite Spec and the individual traits to see how you can make your Holosmith even better. So just by having this on, so obviously once you've selected the Elite Spec here, it's got to be in your 3rd slot, as all Elite Specializations do. You're going to get sword proficiency, which we've already spoken about. It means you can now wield swords in your main hand. And then your first passive here, Photon Projector, so Photon Forge replaces your Tool Belt skill 5 and gain access to Exceed skill. So those are the benefits we've already been through, and that's just a passive benefit of having this on your specialization bar here. So your first choice is you've got Light Density Amplifier. So this is Photon Forge reduces incoming damage but has increased passive heat generation. So it means you have reduced damage of 15% as in incoming damage, so you'll take 15% less damage while in Photon Forge, but you're going to get a bonus heat per second of 1%, so that means you're going to get 3% per second of heat generation, so you're going to only be able to use it for a short amount of time. So do think about that if you're thinking of choosing that. So here you've got Prismatic Converter. So deactivate Photon Forge converts conditions into boons based on your heat level. So obviously when you come out of it, you're bound to have quite a high heat level, so you probably, if you're over 50% heat, you're going to convert 2 conditions to boons when you come out of it, so that's cool there. And here you've got Solar Focusing Lens. So your first few attacks after entering or exiting Photon Forge inflict burning and deal additional damage. This bonus is also granted if you overheat. So when you go in and out of your Photon Forge, your first few attacks are going to do burning. So if you're going in and out of it a lot, then a lot of your attacks are going to inflict burning on the enemy, so that's going to be quite a good one to choose there to make you do more damage. So this passive is Heat Therapy. So gain health per unit of heat lost. So this trait does not function while cooling due to an overheat unless Photonic Blasting Module is equipped. Okay, so as long as you don't overheat, when you come out of Photon Forge, as your heat is decreasing, you're actually going to be gaining health for every unit that's coming back. So it means that, you know, when you're cooling off, you're going to be getting health regen at the same time. So that's really cool. Help you stay alive once you come out of Photon Forge. So your next choice here is Crystal Configuration Storm. So Photon Forge Skill 1 now fires explosive projectiles that generates extra heat. So projectile range of 450, but an extra 1% heat gain. So that's not too much extra heat there, so that's probably worth it. And you can see launch an arc of light at your foe, and if you right click there, oh yeah, because it's a chain skill, it shows you that your number 1 skill changes the effect. So basically you're just launching, it makes it a ranged ability instead, so you can do it from further back, but obviously your heat gain is going to increase, so you need to think about that. So here you've got Crystal Configuration Eclipse. So Corona Burst grants a barrier for each target struck. So barrier per hit 748. So whenever you use Corona Burst in your Photon Forge, then you're going to grant a barrier for each target struck. So do bear that in mind as well. And you've got Crystal Configuration Zephyr. So Holo Leap removes movement impairing conditions, grants super speed instead of swiftness, and inflicts cripple. Alright, so that's pretty cool there. So when you're using your Holo Leap ability, you've got these extra things as well. You're getting super speed, you're removing conditions as well, or movement impairing conditions, so that's cool as well. Here, this next passive is Laser's Edge. So while Photon Forge is active, your outgoing damage is increased based on your current heat. So maximum damage increase of 15%, but the more heat you have, the more damage you're going to do while in Photon Forge. So that's good. So here you've got Thermal Release Valve. So dodge rolling vents heat as an attack against nearby foes. So damage nearby foes and apply conditions to them. Lose heat. This attack activates heat therapy if you're not overheated. So this means that dodge rolling is going to get an extra effect because you're going to be doing some damage to enemies while releasing some heat at the same time. So that's a cool one to choose there. Here you've got Enhanced Capacity Storage Unit. So it increases maximum heat capacity. While above 100% heat, periodically gain might. Some skills and traits gain additional heat tiers. Alright, so you're going to increase heat capacity by 50%. So you're going to get 150 heat. So that's pretty good actually. That's going to have a massive effect, meaning you can stay into Photon Forge for longer, which is cool. And while you're above 100%, so when you're between 100 and 150% heat, periodically gain might, so you're going to make yourself more powerful, and some skills and traits gain additional heat tiers as well. Which means that some of these skills you might have over 100% heat, they'll have an extra effect as well. So this is a really good one if you're focusing on the Photon Forge. You can be able to use it for longer and you'll be able to do more damage, so that's awesome. And lastly you've got Photonic Blasting Module. Overheat now blasts damage to nearby foes and no longer deals its initial damage to you. The tool belt recharge penalty for overheat is reduced. Heat can only be lost after overheating. Okay, so heat can only be lost after overheating. So it seems like you pretty much, it's sort of changing the way you use it. So you're going to instead of using it and then coming out of it before you reach heat, you want to hit the heat threshold, which is pretty cool. So it does get rid of the worrying about hitting the heat threshold thing, and come out of it before then, and it's going to basically get rid of all the negative stuff. And instead of doing damage to you, it's actually going to do damage to your enemies. So it's going to be a benefit when you reach the heat threshold. So that's a cool one. There's a couple of good ones, especially on that last one there, where you can really change how the Photon Forge works. So that's cool. So that's all of the traits for the Elite Spec. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw together a quick Holosmith build, and then I'm going to do a combat demonstration just so you can see what it looks like when it all comes together. Okay, so I've thrown together a quick Holosmith build. I've got the sword main hand here, of course, with the pistol offhand. I've got a good selection of new Exceed abilities all along here, and obviously I'll be showing off the Photon Forge as well. So let's have a look, see how this goes. Alright, okay, so that was just a quick demonstration of what the Holosmith can do when you've got all those skills going. So yeah, a lot of fun to be honest, so I did really enjoy using that one. So that pretty much covers everything for now on the Holosmith. So if you have any questions about it, then just leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you want to watch a video like this on any of the other classes or elite specializations, then do check out the playlist on my channel, because I'm doing one for everyone at the moment, and I've done most of them already. And I've also got a video which shows off all of the classes and elite specializations in one video, so if you want a more condensed version, then do check that out as well. So thanks for watching guys, like and subscribe to be kept up to date, and I'll see you later.